Alright, this is going to be the second segment in the Introduction to Java Object-Oriented Programming series, and in this video I'm going to be covering how to create objects, introduce you to methods, and references. Now, I'm going to delve in more into references the next video and methods the video after that. But for now, we're just going to get introduced to some of the concepts of how methods work and what references are. Let's begin. So, as you can see here, I have two files open, and this is the tester.java and picture.java. Now, when you're creating objects, your object will be based on what file you have. So for now, I'm going to be making a picture object. Well, what I'm basically going to cover today is not exactly how to make a full-on class, which is going to be basically the structure of your object, but I'm going to be covering the syntax, how the object is made. So in Java, when you're making an object, you start with the type. And what type is an object? An object is the type of class you made it to be, and this is the class. And for this specific tutorial, I'm using picture.java, as I said. So when we're making a picture object, we make it picture class, and the first word is picture. This denotes the type, as I've said, and then you have the variable. Now when you put in the variable, you want to name it something significant. You don't want it to be named something like sound1. Now this is just weird. This would confuse anyone who's reading your files. I mean, you would have something like sound1 dot do picture things. Now this would be wrong. You don't want something like that. So when you're making variable names, make them at least somewhat logical, like maybe pick one, picture one, or maybe even more specific, like pancake pick. And once you do that, you have the equal sign, and this is where it becomes a little more important. You have the new keyword. This denotes that you're making a new object. You see, this variable here is actually gonna be pointing at whatever's on the other side of the equal sign, and in this case a new picture just happens to be there. And when we have this new picture, this creates a total new object that this is going to be pointing at. So I have this thing, and what does this do? Now we know this makes a picture object right here, and a label called pancake pick is pointing to it. This variable is not taking on this picture. So if we were to have a diagram, say we have pancake pick, and say this is where the value is stored, well, it's not inside. It's actually pointing to something called pancake picture. This is this new object, and the pancake pick is actually just pointing to it. So you could obviously cross out the reference, or you could keep it. And this is the shallow introduction to how the references work. But let's get back to object creation and methods. Now once we have this pancake pick made, this is an object for us to freely use. But how do we exactly do that? Well, we have something called methods. Now what methods are they're directions we give to objects to do certain things. Now when we have something like pancake pick, I have a method that flips the picture around or shows the picture, and maybe we have something that flips a certain part of the picture. Maybe we have a method that changes everything to grayscale, who knows. So let's start with showing. So if I were to do pancake pick dot show, this would actually show the picture. Now when we run this, we get the actual picture. So it's really important to understand that when you run a method, you have to make every one of them. When you have even say flip vertical, and this flips the picture vertically, you could show the picture right afterwards, and you'll be able to see that the picture has indeed flipped. And this basically just covers what methods are. They tell objects what to do, but you have to create them yourself. Maybe if you're taking a class, you'll be given certain methods. Maybe you'll be even given the method names, the method headers, and all you'll need to do is fill out the code. Now that's all particular to each class, so I can't say anything about that, but we will be covering how to make methods later on in maybe one or two succeeding videos from this one. But for now, all you need to know is that that is how methods work, and that's what they are. Now finalizing on the last point, variables, I said this pancake pick here, this is the variable name. And what exactly is a variable? Now just because I say variable, it doesn't mean it's going to take a value and reference it. as I said, this pancake pic actually refers to pancake, this picture object. It's not that the creation of this variable makes a pointer to pancake. It's that once you have a variable, you have something to simply refer to in the code. So you could use pancakepic.show, you could do pancakepic.do something, and now all these methods are using the variable name to refer to this. It's not talking about an actual reference. Now there is a particular exception to all this referential stuff, but it's important to not get confused between this reference in terms of how it's used and an actual reference to the object. Now, what is this exception I'm talking about? That's called primitives, and I'm going to be covering primitives in the very next video. So for now, just understand that this is a variable. This is basically how a creation of an object looks, and a method is something that tells the object to do something. Now in the coming videos, I'm going to be addressing some of the more confusing ways that references work and how the exceptions, which are primitives, work alongside references. And if you're confused about how this part in here works, this is called a parameter. All the parameters for object creation are unique to each object. It just so happens that for picture, I need something in here, a file name, in order to open the picture that I made. So don't be too confused about this. For the last segment of the video, I'm just going to be quickly covering some of the key terms that you should be aware of. Now, this is a variable, as I've said. This is the object type. This is just a new keyword. Once you do this new picture, once you do a new object creation, this is called instantiation. You're instantiating the object. What does this mean? You're creating an instance of this picture, and this is not only a variable, but it's also a reference. I just had to cover that one last time. And yeah.